I want to share what I did the other day that was a really rookie mistake. And I can't believe after so many years with horses, we still make these mistakes, but we all do it. Whether you're just starting out or you've been working with horses for years, mistakes happen. And it, it was when I was doing a groundwork exercise with my horse Canelo. And basically, I accidentally punished him for doing the right thing. So what happened is I had several of the horses there, and I've been working with them to have a bit more impulse control around food. So they were standing, and then I was calling each one forward to come to their bucket of food. And I swung the lead rope over Canelo's neck because he was wearing a lead rope, swung it over his neck, and I stepped back, had him there, he was waiting, and then I caught him. And as he started walking, he just kind of did a little head movement that flung the lead rope to the ground. And like 2 steps in, to a great forward movement, he stepped on the rope, and of course the rope jerked his head, and he essentially got punished for doing the right thing. And it's one of the things that we always know as trainers, and not just even in training, but whenever we're working with our horses, is to set up our horses for success. And I so did not set up Canelo for success by leaving the lead rope over his neck and having the chance that that would happen. So, Andrea, I bet you've got some things that come to mind of errors that you've made as well.
Oh, so many. I mean, mistakes are always learning opportunities. We've heard that said so many times. But I think the biggest thing that I always have to focus on is not rushing. As humans, we process information so quickly. But I think having taught for so long, there's 4 common mistakes that I see stand out. And I've done all of them, but I see that a lot of people do this. The first one is using too much pressure. You want to be the lightness that you want to see in your horse. Part of the reason that we use too much pressure is we expect instant results. And that's my second one, is not giving the horse enough time to process what we've asked them. And I have a great way of demonstrating this, and I can't do it right now, but I'll have someone just throw a tennis ball at a student. Sounds bad. But they don't see it coming. They're like, whoa, what was that? Whereas if you go, hey, Callie, catch this, you go, okay, and you've got it. So you've set them up for success, because when we ask a horse something, they have to take that in visually or audibly, process it in their brain, get it down to their feet, and move. And as humans, we expect that to be immediate. And if it isn't, we tend to add more pressure. So then the horse is worried and can't think. So they add more pressure, and what you find, the horse is then moving because it's fearful. And that's not how we want our horses learning. The other mistake that I see, oh no, go, please.
I have an example of that. That's a really simple example. Is if you've ever heard someone that's using verbal cues with a horse, for
Mm-hmm.
example, lunging or even riding, and they'll say, and trot,
Yes.
and canter. That and for the
Yeah.
horse is a transition word of the cue is
Yeah.
coming, and it helps them pay attention. We
Yeah.
can do
A
the
call
same
for
thing without.
attention.
Yes. Yeah, you teach that in the Pure Liberty and in all of your work. And we can do the same thing even if we're not using verbal cues by a change in our body position that the horse can see if we're riding, it picking up the reins, when the reins are, say, laying on a loose rein, and we even just change our posture and maybe pick up the reins, the horse feels that and they know
Yes.
something's coming way
Yeah.
better than just a big kick in the side
I know.
to ask them to
It
move
just,
forward.
oh, it's heartbreaking, isn't it? It's like they just don't know what you want, but we've got to just give them that time to think. The other thing that I see all the time is no reward. So you've got to think, what's in it for the horse for a start. But when they do respond to our gentle cue that we give a call for attention, then we ask without adding pressure and wait, they give us a try, the reward needs to be going still, going quiet. We tend to go, okay, move back. Good boy. Okay, go again. And the horse is still going, whoa, I'm still just thinking about that. Wait for them to finish licking and chewing or blowing out. We need to wait. And actually, you and I went to a fantastic clinic with Dr. Stephen Peters. We regularly quote Dr. Peters. And he did or was involved in a study where not giving enough quiet time with no interaction can really affect the way humans and horses learn.
Yes. So I remember that study, and
Mm.
they did the study on humans, on people. They had them in an MRI, and we're going to need to go back and find the specific resource to cite this for you. But essentially, what they did is they wanted to look at how interruptions would affect a person's ability to stay on a task. So they would give them a task to solve a puzzle. They would send them into the MRI, and any even small interruption of someone tapping and saying, would how are you
Are
doing
you?
in there?
Yeah.
Are you okay? It
Mm.
would interrupt that process, and it would change the way that they were able to then perform afterwards. So we're going to get the
Mm.
specifics for you, but we know when we look at these kind of studies that our horses and us, we share many common brain structures. That was one of the
Yeah.
huge takeaways from that clinic.
Mm.
So these kinds of studies give us insights into our horse's behavior, and takeaway is give them some time to think after
Yeah, I
doing
think
something.
yeah, latent learning, give them that moment. Don't immediately fill the space. The best music has good pauses between it, but it's like we tend to ask, we take one breath, ask again, ask the next thing, ask the next thing. And it's like we're losing so much opportunity for the horses to absorb the lesson and understand it and be able to repeat it. And if we don't start to gather good feelings around the exercises, then we're just doing it to the horse, not with the horse. And it's really important that we give them some freedom of choice, some time to sit and think. Groundwork, we tend to, I think when humans get tools in their hands, we become very direct focused. The mentorship that I'm teaching at the moment, I'm really focusing on, can you take the liberty mindset into your tools? Because put tools in a human's hands and we just become very narrow focus. And it's the same with the horses. We start to just add tension and pressure. It doesn't need to be that way. And in groundwork, I see that all the time, like people putting too much lean on the rope, which is then teaching the horse to lean on the hands and lean when they're being ridden. So slowing down is the most important thing for me personally. Um, don't miss the try. When the horse makes a little try, can you recognize it and go, thank you, that's all I wanted? Rather than asking and asking, and they've already done it. And then they think, well, I must have got that answer wrong. So I'll try something else. And then you're like, no, it's not that. If you can reward the tiniest tries and then build on it, you can put together success for the horse where they feel like a winner. It's really important.
Yes. And I want to add one other in here that I think is really important. We have to remember that until we have trained a cue, our horses are not necessarily going to just understand what we mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I see people doing this a lot with verbal, with talking. So they'll talk a lot to their horse, do this, do that, I want this, that, trot, canter, fit. And it's okay to talk, and sometimes talking is more for regulating us than it is for actually
Definitely.
helping the horse. It helps us feel better, which is fine. But unless the horse has been trained to a specific verbal cue, they're not necessarily going to understand it. And sometimes verbal cues I've seen not transfer to other people. The horse needs a little time with a new person to understand that verbal cue, just like someone, if a horse has been, a young horse, for example, has been started with someone with a really long leg, and they've
Mm-hmm.
gotten used to feeling those leg cues in a certain place, and then the next rider has a really short leg, the
Yeah.
horse needs a little time with that new rider to understand, okay, this is what you want. So we always have to um, have in our minds, does the horse really understand what I'm asking? And can I take a bit more time to teach, rewarding some smaller tries, shaping up to the behavior we want, instead of, just perhaps escalating the pressure, to try to force them to a response.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen it actually with some students I've been working with recently, where there's a lot of voice going on, and it's drawing the horse's attention away from the work that they're doing in perfecting their body language and their energy control or projection in helping the horse understand what they want. But because they're regulating their own nervous system by talking, it's distracting the horse and making the learning process so much harder for the horse. But it's funny what you just said about the longer leg. I'll end on a really funny story here. Well, it was funny for me anyway. It was a big learning opportunity. I was interning with David Lichman, one of my long-term mentors, amazing person, and I was riding his beautiful horse 13, who has since left us, passed away. But he was a bridleless horse. So there I was in David Lichman's arena on 13, bareback, bridleless. And he was like, okay, canter. So I was cantering. I was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. And he said, okay, 20-meter circle. Okay, I know how to ride a 20-meter circle. Here we go. Oh, no, I'm staying on the outside track. Nope, not happening, not happening. And he's going, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I think I'm riding a 20-meter circle. He's like, well, you're not, because 13 knows this really well, and he's not turning. And David did not let very many people ever ride his horse. So I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't understand. He's like, look, I'll show you. He hops on 20-meter circle. I hop on nothing. We suddenly realized David's legs were literally twice as long as mine, and he was queuing, down nearly under the belly, and I'm up by the shoulder somewhere, and it wasn't working. So what we did is we got a stick, not obviously for hitting, but we turned it upside down so we had the slightly bigger bit, and I just touched him with that, and he was like, oh, you wanted a 20-meter circle. And I was like, my legs are too short. So it does show, cues can be very specific, and when we have a different rider or a different handler, these horses, they are not hairy bicycles, they are not programmed computers, they are sentient beings who use curiosity and awareness to learn, and we need to do the same.
Yes, beautifully said. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in this week. We will leave you here, and we will come back next week. If you have any topics that you would love to hear us talk about, send them to us, info@horseclass.com, and as usual, we'll put links down below. You've heard Andrea mention a few times in this call her mentorship, a really good way if you feel at all overwhelmed by a lot of different information and courses. We were getting that feedback from many students, and Andrea created a mentorship program where you just go step by step through specific exercises.
With me, one-on-one. Yeah.
Yes, and we're getting incredible feedback from the students in there, and many of their questions are also inspiring these topics that we're talking about week to week. So we'll put the links down below to learn more, and we'll see you back next week.
Bye, guys. Thank you.